Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Teena Jha, you're watching Perspective. Energy conservation is no longer a choice, it is an urgent necessity of our times. Saving energy does not simply mean using less power, but using it wisely, responsibly and efficiently. That was a clear message from President Tripathy Murmu on National Energy Conservation Day, which is observed every year on the 14th of December. The President in her speech emphasized that when we avoid unnecessary use of electrical appliances, adopt energy-efficient technologies, make better use of natural light and ventilation, and embrace solar and other renewable energy options, we not only conserve energy but also significantly reduce carbon emissions.
अगर देश के बच्चे और युवा ऊर्जा संरक्षण के महत्व के बारे में जागरूक हो जाएं और इसके लिए प्रयत्न करें तो इस क्षेत्र में लक्ष्यों की प्राप्ति तथा देश का स्थायी विकास सुनिश्चित किया जा सकता है। भारत विश्व की सबसे तेजी से बढ़ती हुई अर्थव्यवस्था में से एक है।
So India today ranks among the world's top 3 energy consumers, with electricity demand continuing to rise steadily. The total electricity generation increased from 1,739.09 billion units in 2023-24 to 1,829.69 billion units in 24-25, registering a growth of 5.21%. For 2025-26, the generation target has been set at 2,000.4 billion units. At the same time, India's energy mix is undergoing a major transformation. As of 31st October 2025, the country's total installed power generation capacity stands at 505 gigawatts, with over 259 gigawatts coming from non-fossil fuel sources. In effect, more than 50% of India's installed electricity capacity now comes from clean sources such as solar, wind, hydro and nuclear power. This shift underlines India's dual commitment, which is expanding access to energy while steering decisively towards a cleaner, more sustainable future. On the show today, we will discuss the key energy conservation initiatives aimed at reducing wastage, improving efficiency and strengthening India's global leadership through international partnerships that support a clean, secure and sustainable energy future. Joining us for this important discussion are 2 distinguished guests. I am pleased to welcome on the program today Mr. Upendra Tripathy, former founding DG of International Solar Alliance and former Secretary MNRE. Dr. Tripathy, thank you for your time. Welcome to the program. Also joining us is Mr. Saurabh Kumar. He is Vice President India for the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. Mr. Kumar, welcome to Sansad TV. Thank you for your time as well. In fact, let's begin the conversation with you. Each year we observe the National Energy Conservation Day, the purpose of which is to promote awareness of reducing energy use, at the same time encouraging efficient practices across various sectors. Since energy efficiency happens to be the most critical pillar to India's broader clean energy transition, let's understand from you first about how India has been promoting energy efficiency. What initiatives have we undertaken in recent years to encourage efficient technologies as well as efficient practices?
Thank you very much for inviting me for the show. I think India has done extremely well, whether we count the global south or even global north, in terms of energy efficiency leadership. Started off in 2001 when the Energy Conservation Act was passed. And if you see the India's energy efficiency growth, which is taken as how much energy is used for 1% of GDP growth, was initially 1%. Now it has risen to about 2%, and we hope this will grow to about 2.5% to 3% in the next 3 to 5 years. This is among the highest energy efficiency growth rates anywhere in the world. So what India has done very, very well is a very robust policy framework and a regulatory framework, starting in 2007 with the Standards and Labeling Program, where the consumers were provided an informed choice by way of very simple star labels 1 to 5 about what the efficiency levels of an equipment are. And also they were told that if you buy an air conditioner, your capital cost is only about 15% of the total cost that you will incur over the lifetime of the equipment. Also, this program ratcheted up the standards every 2 to 3 years so that we get into higher and higher efficiency in all equipments.
Right.
This program has been a great success over the last 25 years. Number two, if you see, is tackling large industries which consume about 1/3 of the energy used in the country, where they are given rolling targets every 3 years, and these targets have been given out right from 2011-12 onwards, and substantial amount of energy has been saved, and it has also made the industry competitive because if you save energy, you save cost. In industries like steel, cement, where almost 50 to 60% of input costs come from energy. Then the third aspect of India's energy leadership is the aggregation and mass procurement program that was the LED bulbs program that the Honorable Prime Minister launched on the 5th of January 2015. It is the single largest program in the world where no subsidy was used, but the power of aggregation and the market was used to literally do a market transformation in lighting in favor of LEDs, and we are still one of the leaders in this thing. This program then went on to fans, to air conditioners, and so on and so forth. So I think India has been a global leader in terms of energy efficiency for almost more than 2 decades now.
That's right. Mr. Tripathy, let me bring you in as well. India is undergoing a transition from the perform, achieve and trade, the PAT mechanism now, to the carbon credit trading scheme for industrial energy efficiency. In your opinion, how significant has this shift been in driving deeper emission reductions as well as market-based carbon action across particularly the energy-intensive sectors?
See, the carbon credit trading scheme in place of PAT, which is under formulation. In fact, I happen to be a member of the National Committee. Now, Government of India is trying to expedite the scheme so that the market is established, the compliance market. I think it will come by the middle of next year. Now, the important thing is it is a big step forward, given, PAT actually taught us a few things, trust with the governance, the credibility of data, MRV, the monitoring part and all that. Now, CCS or the carbon credit trading scheme is a big transformation. It is there earlier in USA, China has a big market, EU has a big market, and we are going about it. And this teaches us, from save energy, which was the fundamental philosophy earlier, we are going to change to sell carbon. And if you think of India's, the 53 gigatons of CO2 or CO2 equivalent we produce every year, how much of it can be really captured, how much it can be sold either in the voluntary market or compliance market. But this has opened up a big opportunity. So carbon credit trading scheme will open up a big window for India. And, you must have read about India signing MOUs with Japan, trying to sign one with Korea. And I met some industry people in IIM Bangalore who are going to the neighboring countries to look after mangrove management so that their companies can invest elsewhere. So suddenly a whole new window is coming, a new global window is coming where India can actually trade carbon. So this is a fundamental shift from the philosophy of only saving, then going to sell carbon.
That's right. Energy underpins economic growth. But before we proceed to talk about our commitments for net zero by 2070 and some of the other global leadership initiatives that we have undertaken to expand the benefits to countries in the global south, Mr. Kumar, a question to you on how this transition from the PAT scheme to the CCTS for major industries has strengthened India's approach to industrial decarbonization.
As Mr. Tripathy rightly mentioned, it opens up a new window and a new window of opportunity for not just the market participants which are currently there in the PAT scheme, but also people outside the financial world, which hitherto was not there in the PAT scheme. For example, you will have people coming up with carbon funds who will provide funding and take your carbon back. Mr. Tripathy rightly talked about the bilateral India-Japan joint crediting mechanism, which will lead to not just getting the best available technology in these hard-to-abate sectors like steel and cement from Japan, but also it will reduce the cost to the Indian industry for decarbonization, because the credits that will come out of this reduction in carbon dioxide emissions will be bought by the Japanese government, and similar bilateral deals, carbon trade is being talked about with other countries as well. And as you know, the Paris Agreement allows such kind of bilateral mechanisms to. So all in all, I would say it will bring in capital for the hard to abate sectors, and most importantly, technologies which has always been talked about. But this particular CCTS, as and when it joins with these bilateral trading of carbon, I think it'll open up the sector very quickly for decarbonization based on best available technologies that exist in the global north.
Okay, coming now to India's 2070 commitment and its NDC as well, Mr. Tripathi. We've committed to net zero by 2070 while continuing rapid economic growth. We happen to be one of the largest major economies as on date. How does solar energy, and especially when combined with efficiency and storage, support this kind of balanced transition pathway on which India has embarked upon?
See, 2070 was a wonderful announcement by the Honorable Prime Minister, because initially we were not sure that, which year India would go net zero. Now, the moment we talk about net zero, we are not talking only about carbon dioxide, we are also talking about CO2 equivalent. And if you look at sectors, it is not only solar energy in energy sector. We are talking about solar energy in transportation, we are talking about solar energy in industry, we are talking about solar energy in buildings, we are talking about solar energy in waste sector, we are talking about solar energy in agriculture, in forestry programs, in the dairy sector. So a whole lot of sectors are there in the net zero, around 7, and there are several subsectors. So we are talking about solarization of not only energy sector, but also the other sectors I told. So then both conservation and efficiency, by definition, because of net zero promise, they go from energy sector to other sectors. How we can be energy efficient in agriculture, how we can be energy efficient in dairy. For example, there is a company which uses fodder in Punjab, straw, makes steam, and around the clock they're selling steam to a pharmaceutical company. Now, these are the type of things that fit into place. So when you're talking about net zero by 2070, we are not only talking about reducing the 53 gigatons of CO2 we produce today annually in India, but also the growth that will take place. And hence, we have to have solar in adaptation technologies, solar in mitigation technologies. And when we talk about building, we have passive buildings, where you use solar energy in such a way that you don't have that much of use of energy at all. And just now, the India's efficiency is also there that states are fully involved in the federal system. Saurabh just gave me an example of Governor of Odisha, who have come up with a policy that super efficient fans, where 25 watts is equal to 40 watts of other fans. They do not have a separate classification. Like we don't have a 7-star system of fans or 7-star system of ACs. So net zero requires that we keep on dynamically moving forward. And the government of Odisha has come up of subsidizing that, those fans, the super efficient fans. And we need to go for millions and millions of super fans to be sold. We need super efficient ACs to be sold. So it is not only conservation by practice, but through real technologies being sent out. But one more important thing I would like to say about the NEP, the new national education policy, where they talk about education. Because if you look at India, it's not only the population is going up, the middle class is going up, the demand for electricity is going up. more and more children are coming to the system, and more areas are getting urbanized. More people are joining into urban stream. So the energy demand will go up, and hence the requirement for education. The children who are coming out of school, how how aware some they are. So far as conservation and efficiency are concerned, those are going to the critical social parameters. So
Absolutely.
net zero assistance and all this. Thank you. Go ahead.
Certainly, multiple initiatives that have been taken, but going forth, in order to expedite the progress, we need to keep innovating and keep coming up with these initiatives that will drive both behavioral change as well as the transformation in the market. Mr. Kumar, India's NDCs also include a 45% reduction in the emissions intensity of GDP by 2030. How much of this target do you think depends on energy efficiency and conservation rather than the supply side changes alone?
So I think India has, if you see, has done pretty well in terms of NDCs by 2030. We have already achieved more or less almost, I'm told about 35% reduction has already happened from the 2005 levels, and I'm extremely confident that we will possibly exceed the targets and a lot of it will be led really by energy efficiency, because even if we go for 500 gigawatts, which we will, of renewable energy by 2030, given that the plant load factor of renewables is still quite low, it will contribute to almost about 100 gigawatt of equivalent energy. So I would say about 40 to 50% of the reduction will actually come from energy efficiency and conservation.
Mr. Tripathy, as a co-founder of the International Solar Alliance, you've been the founding DG. There is no doubt that India has positioned itself as a champion of the global south. We've been trying to expand the benefits of the renewable power to countries, the developing economies in the global south. But tell us about, from your experience, what aspects of India's clean energy journey so far, which has been remarkable, has resonated most strongly with these countries, and who are the ones that we are now sharing these benefits with?
Oh yeah, that's a brilliant question. International Solar Alliance is already 10 years old, and because it was so useful to the other countries, there was a demand to open up the membership. Initially, it was limited to 121 countries. It was opened up. The amendment took around 2.5 years, and now every UN member can be a member. Every UN member country can be a member of ISA. Now, what ISA was doing earlier, it was the plain solar energy we're talking about. We did a lot of aggregation work and other things, but the point is that now ISA is moving into areas where solar energy is diversified. Over the 10 years, like we're talking about 1G solar, then it maintained grid parity, we call it 2G solar, then came, wind and solar hybrid, we call it 3G solar, then came, solar, wind and storage, we call it 4G solar. Now, the AI and the smart grid and the smart metering, all those things combined, we call it 5G solar. So when we are talking about efficiency and conservation in terms of solar, we are not only talking about conservation and efficiency in solar generation, we are talking in solar distribution, we are talking about solar management. So a whole lot of new things have come in this 5G solar that we are trying to preach. And even India now, to reach that 500 gigawatt by 2030, we need to go for 5G solar. It means we have to have more of storage so that it is 24/7. Solar energy is also available at night. And today, I think some 12% of solar energy is surplus during daytime. We can't store it. That has become a problem. So this has to go. And nighttime, we should be able to use solar. So the 5G solar will be very well maintained. It is at the grid's command. So the grid can actually sustainably use this solar energy. And it's not the vanilla or the plain solar, the 1G solar that we're talking about. So today when ISA is talking about solar, it is not the old solar we're talking about. We're talking about new generation of solar. It is more related, more climate friendly, and more grid friendly, because many countries have no money to expand the grid, and we have also a constraint here. So we are trying to find more of diversified new quality solar energy, which we can call 5G, and which can be supplied to the grid at command whenever the supply is required. It's very well managed. So that type of transition, so ISA has to take from India to a lot more countries in the south who need the knowledge, who need the hand-holding, who need the support, and we also have to learn quite a few things from other countries who have better systems, either in terms of pricing or grids or rooftop, or even manufacturing of green hydrogen machines.
Certainly. So, through affordable finance, access to technology, through trying to help build capacity, the ISA has been trying to face and address the barriers that these developing countries face as far as the shift to clean energy is concerned. A related question, Mr. Kumar, to you as well on India's global role and the international partnerships. We've recently joined the International Energy Efficiency Hub. How, according to you, or what according to you, do you think this signals about India's evolving role in shaping global efficiency standards, the global best practices that persist when we talk about energy transition? And not to forget, when India's focus has been on a just energy transition.
Absolutely. And just energy transition cannot happen without efficiency and renewables. So I think it's a good step that India has joined the Global Energy Efficiency Hub. And it's not the first time that India has joined a forum. In fact, way back in 2008 or 9, there was a global effort called International Partnership for Energy Efficiency Cooperation. India was a leading member of that group. I think what India will possibly learn from, I'll begin from what we can learn from these global best practices, is a whole issues of how countries, particularly global north, has led demand response programs, demand side management programs, which is something which has been going on particularly in the Europe, US and parts of Japan very, very effectively, where you use the power of digitization, which Mr. Tripathy very rightly referred to as the 5G solar. When you have a digital grid, you can shift load to make sure that you have more demand during the solar hours. So that's one. Then the second is demand flexibility. Again, these are things which are extremely nascent in India's regulatory construct. So I think it's a great opportunity for India to learn and get best practices so that we can start doing this at scale in India. What India can offer to the world is many, many things. I mean, for example, the kind of policies and regulation that exist across the building sector, across the industrial sector and the equipment. There's a lot to learn as far as the global south is concerned. Then the way market-based energy efficiency, particularly the transformation in lighting, has happened. This is something which is necessary in whole lot of developing and developed world. So I think it's a good choice that India has made, and there is a lot to contribute to strengthen India's leadership in energy efficiency, and also a lot to learn from the new things that are emerging. Like I mentioned, demand response, demand flexibility, and so on and so forth, which are about to begin as far as India is concerned.
Okay, Mr. Tripathi, so we are on the right track. We've seen the transformation that has happened because of these initiatives and policy measures that India has undertaken in recent years. But if we look beyond 2030, what, according to you, are some of the next big priorities before us in context of scaling up energy conservation across various sectors, which include industry, which include households? And here I would like to also understand your perspective on the effectiveness of one of the behavioral initiatives that India announced, the LIFE initiative. What kind of impact do you see it having towards its contribution to our Viksit Bharat vision as well?
Yes, I mean, beyond 2030, you can think of 2030 to 2047. And here, three things will be very critical. A will be, how we utilize artificial intelligence to promote our objectives, whether it is conservation, or it is, efficiency. I will give you one example. Way back in 2016, when I was Secretary MNRE, I visited a company called 50 Hertz in Germany. And this was about scheduling of solar energy to be put into the grid. They're far ahead of us because their software was far better than ours. In fact, states like Tamil Nadu and Gujarat those days were struggling, to schedule renewable energy into the grid. So software and more so the AI is going to a very critical role. And between 30 and 47 or 47 and 70, like China has now put AI into all departments, across all departments. They're trying to find out how they're going to be ahead of others. That is one. And number two, the type of smart, the material, the green materials, the new materials that are going to come, which will, in a sense, will reduce costs. They're more environment friendly. But apart from the scientific side about the technologies that are yet to come, into the net zero, to promote net zero, about the behavior in the society where life program comes in. Honorable Prime Minister's idea of, I remember Mr. Piyush Goyal giving an example of a 70-story building in New York not switching off lights at night. And he said, what is the security risk to this building at the 70th floor at night? It's just a habit. They don't switch off the lights. And there are so many things, And in India also, we have a section of society who have to learn how to use less, how to use judiciously, and how to use keeping environment in mind. And that is where I told that the coming generations have to be taught in schools, in colleges, in universities, that this is very critical. So these are the three things, the AI, use of AI, the sustainable materials, or, what you call resource utilization efficiency. And the third is, of course, what we teach to the coming generations.
Certainly, as we advance towards our 2030 climate commitments and our long-term vision of a Viksit Bharat by 2047, what's important is that we must all work together to build an informed, efficiency-driven culture which supports our vision of a clean, secure and sustainable energy future. With that, we'll have to wrap up the conversation. Time allows us to take up only that much on the program. Thank you once again, Mr. Tripathi, Mr. Kumar, for joining in with your views and suggestions on this important and pertinent subject. To you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
संसद टीवी के और भी प्रोग्राम्स देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें हमारा यूट्यूब चैनल और हाँ, इन्हें लाइक और शेयर करना ना भूलें।